Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you along, no matter where or how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call down in Evansville, up in the region on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked where you got it all day long as you traverse the day. Or if you're following on social media, hit the like, subscribe buttons. Do us a favor in that. We appreciate you. And you're welcome to throw out the comments as well. So happy to have you. Looking forward to another day here in game week as we get one day closer to the official start of the college football season. I know that we had week 0, but it doesn't count. Indiana taking on Old Dominion this Saturday at 2:30. So it gives the peeps some time for a little tailgating. And I'm sure lots of people looking forward to it. As gives you a little extra time instead of having one of those noon games, as will be the case for the following week against Kennesaw State. But you don't have to worry about that on the third game with Indiana State. It's a Friday. Of course, half the people might be at work, so hopefully that works out. But I hope you're having a great day. And looking forward to it. We are looking forward to having on Mike DeCourcy, who will join us, and K-Bro, Kevin Brockway. Looking forward to talking to K-Bro about the fact the SEC and the Big Ten, and the same with Mike, as the talked about yesterday. The SEC said, I'll see your 9-game conference game schedule, and I'll raise you a P4. So we'll talk more about that, as that is going to be a discussion. We'll hear from Kurt Signetti as well, as he has his first game week presser yesterday. We'll hear what Coach had to say. In addition to all that, hope everybody's doing well. Glad to have you, as always. Kalen DeBoer goes into year 2 for him at Alabama, the former Indiana offensive coordinator. You know what? He didn't have the type of quarterback that he probably would like to have had last year. Jalen Milroe was a holdover from the previous regime, and just not probably his kind of he likes a thrower. So Kalen DeBoer is going to be fine at Alabama, and they're going to love him to death just because he's just an easygoing guy, a great guy, but he'll win. He's won everywhere he's been. So I expect no different. The Michigan Wolverines, although not on Indiana's schedule, as expected, they are going to go with true freshman Bryce Underwood. That's a big deal. Can you imagine? I can't, being an 18-year-old kid and stepping up to that level, and not just to the college level. Michigan, 110,000 people. That's a big deal. But true freshman Bryce Underwood been named Michigan's starting quarterback, according to soon-to-be suspended coach Sharon Moore. He earned the opportunity. It was not given to him. Oh, I believe that. Other Michigan quarterbacks were informed Sunday that Underwood will start, a source told Pete Thamel. Now, I don't think that Curt Cignetti really names a starter. He doesn't really have to. I think, well, we all know who the starting quarterback is. But I do recall him saying that he doesn't really name one. He just runs the guy out there, which I'm fine with that. I couldn't care. But Fresno State transfer Mikey Keene, he was one of the guys that was beaten out for the job. Davis Warren still recovering from a torn ACL in his right knee. He suffered in last season's bowl win. So, it's going to be interesting. He'll have the season to acclimate himself, but how does that affect Michigan? So, Jason says Hoosier Hanks is still under construction. He is curious about the coaches show. Will be at the East location. I didn't know that it was under construction. Are they expanding there? I have not been by there in quite some time, and I know the first coaches show is this Thursday at 7. Good point. So we need to check in on that and find out. I wish I would have asked Don that yesterday. Maybe I can text him at some point today. Claude, how are you, sir? New name, don't recognize you. Appreciate you checking in from down there at Evansville. Appreciate everybody from all over. Bill's going to be syncing up down to the TV. There you go. It's like it's an Indiana fan thing to do. Appreciate everybody. Five's on here as well. And you are as well. And hopefully your travels go well today, no matter where you're going. How many people are coming in for football? How many people have football tickets? Are you going to the first game? Are you waiting till the Illinois game? Don't do that Indiana thing. Oh, it's not I'm waiting for the big games. You can't. That's the thing that makes the bigger programs different. Their fans go to the games. Yes, the name of the opponent changes the interest level as always, but they still go to them. So Indiana fans have to get into being Indiana football fans. They really do. And that's another part to being taken, I don't want to use the word seriously, but being looked upon as Curt Cignetti said last year, the new and rising power in college football. Well, the fans have to follow suit. You have to have that fan support in these games, but you won't have too many of those games to worry about. Andrew, ready to rock and roll. We're going 5 lefts. He's going to everyone he can this year. Dr. Drew, I keep missing. Nope. Dr. Drew's got his tickets. He's ready to rock and roll. Indy Star picked IU to go 10-2 with a loss at Oregon and a close loss to Penn State. Well, yeah, that's my pick as well. That's not saying, that's my selections as well, because those are the two, not only the two toughest games, they're 2 games against top 5 opponents on the road. So, yeah, I'm going to count that as a loss right now, but that doesn't mean I don't think that Indiana can go out there and win at Oregon. I haven't seen Oregon yet. Don't know what Oregon's really going to be like. There's the hype that Oregon comes with, that they always put out a good team. Dan Lanning does a tremendous job there. So, yeah, there's nothing to say that Indiana can't go out and win that game. Now, it is tough traveling that distance and coming out with a win. Of course, Indiana did that last year when they started out with UCLA, and it really kicked off the Curt Cignetti era. It really did. That was a moment. Yeah, the Indiana fans, I remember coming off the field behind Curt Cignetti and was recording that, and that great crowd that was out there of West Coast Hoosier fans. And I'm sure some traveled out there, but I think this was a big part of Indiana fans that lived out that way, and boy, did they have a good time. They certainly enjoyed themselves. And they'll have that same opportunity to go to Oregon this year. I know Greg LaRock is going out there with some peeps, and there was some others are going out there. That's a tough place to get to, but boy, will that be one heck of a deal. So hopefully they'll get a good response out there. You've got Wisconsin coming in this year. That's toward the end of the year. What's Wisconsin going to be like? Because Luke Fickell, his seat is got to be warm at the very minimum. Second last game of the season, in between a home game, packed in between two road games to Penn State and Purdue. So interesting. The end of the season will be interesting for Indiana, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully things will be great by then. And can you imagine if Indiana has one loss going into that Penn State game? I see it. 10-2 to me gets them back to the college football playoffs, but that's my thinking. Russell points out that this Thursday, Nebraska plays Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium this Thursday, the weekday after. And Cincinnati's really not, I mean, they're not that good anymore. Now, Nebraska, people are pumping up Nebraska and Matt Rule because Matt Rule's seat is hot or warm. He's got to get something done. Now, Nebraska has a quarterback in his second year after going through the freshman doldrums where he really was put through the paces, but they've got a solid second-year quarterback now. They should be much better offensively. How are they going to be defensively? We don't know. They're not on Indiana's schedule, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'll tell you, Illinois is going to be a problem for Indiana in the college football playoffs because Illinois doesn't play anyone. They play Ohio State and they play Indiana. I think those are the only two ranked teams on their schedule. Hell, Indiana's got 3 ranked teams on their schedule, and that doesn't include Iowa potentially being ranked early in the season. So it is of uber importance that Indiana beats Illinois. If they lose to Illinois, they're going to be on an uphill tread for the rest of the season there. But yeah, college football, man, starts on 2 days. Well, I know it's already started. I get that. But Andrew thinks the prediction for the Old Dominion game, 55-0. That would be a nice little way to open things up. The Star picked IU to defeat Illinois 34-21. I think they beat Illinois as well. I don't have a score out just yet. I think that people are underestimating Indiana's offense. I keep hearing about all the schools that have a returning quarterback, Luke Altmaier. I don't care. He was okay. They won 10 games, but I didn't check out their schedule. But if it's anything like it is this year, they should have won 10 games. And people will say that about Indiana, but they weren't blowing people away like Indiana was, and they weren't shutting them down like Indiana was. Indiana was good on both sides of the ball. That's the thing with Penn State. They keep getting all of this pub talking about, they've got this returning quarterback who did little to nothing. He managed the game. That's what he did. He was a great game manager. And we'll see if that's all it takes this year. But Indiana's offense is going to be a problem for people. And I don't know that they're getting the credit, which is ironic because here you have Mel Kiper Jr. talking about Fernando Mendoza and the possibility of him being a high draft pick, yet, and you've got Elijah Sherratt, who is a potential All-American. You've got increased performance at every position group, and we'll see. I'll laugh. Jason says Illinois is the new Indiana because ESPN is pumping the narrative that they have an easy schedule. Well, that's the truth. They have a very easy schedule, and even if Illinois loses to Indiana, they should go 10-2 without question. Their two toughest games are Indiana and Ohio State, to my knowledge. So, well, 5 says they didn't listen to Mel's opinion about Shedeur either. Well, yeah, I don't know how good Shedeur is. I think that the Browns ended up, I saw that they traded Kenny Pickett yesterday to the Raiders, and I guess that was to keep Shedeur Sanders as the number 3 quarterback. He is 3 on the depth chart, which, boy, they had a lot of quarterbacks in camp. They're covering their rear on quarterbacks. Hey, let's take a quick break. When we come back, the man, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, will join us. Appreciate you being with us on this Tuesday. We're back with more from Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and that means a visit from our good friend Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. How are you, sir? How was your weekend?
I am well, Jim. Weekend fairly uneventful, pleasant, but all is good here.
It's about to change as we get into the college football season as that gets underway this weekend. I know that we had week zero. Every time I say it gets underway this weekend, then I've got to follow it up with, I know we had week 0. It's like saying Twitter or X or formerly Twitter. It's like, man, I just wish I could just say it's just one or the other.
I thought this was week 0.
No, last week was week 0, I think. They had games.
Yeah, so it's like week 0 minus 0. Is that what it was?
It's so dumb.
This is
it's
still
so
week
dumb.
0.
Yeah.
Maybe week 0 lasts 8 days. Is that possible?
I think that's make it week 0 month. It's like how a lot of women celebrate their birthday months instead of on the birthday itself. But But yeah, for most of the college football world, things get underway this week. Looking forward to that. But of course, the first things first, the SEC, baby. All right, I will see your non-conference games, and I will raise you a P4 requirement on the schedule. And I think that I have to think that while I know that this has been in the works for a long time, the preseason barbs by people like Kurt Signetti and we're doing the SEC scheduling model had to really start poking them a little bit. And now I would have loved to have asked yesterday in the presser with Kurt Signetti about that, but it was a game week presser, and so that probably not the time. But I would love to get his response to this now. And I keep asking, what is Indiana going to have to do? Because I think they're going to have to go back and reschedule P4 teams that they paid $1.5 million worth to get out of playing.
Yeah, Jim, I think it was it turns out that it was a tactical error. I don't think there's any way around that. That the idea that it was always going to be the way it was, that it was always going to be about how few losses you had. I think it was short-sighted to expect that it wouldn't change. Now, if eventually the Big Ten were to get its way in regards to the multiple automatic bids, then who you can play like Elizabeth Forward High School in your non-conference, and it won't matter. But if you continue to go by the 5+ whatever, at 11, if you go to 16, and goodness knows how many it might eventually go to, but if you continue to go with automatic bids only for the champion, and then the plus model is all at-large teams, then yeah, playing a stronger schedule is probably going to help. I don't like the way this was implemented, not by the SEC. What they did was good and right. They were too late to get to 9 games, but I like the P4 obligation. I think that if I remember correctly, Jim Delaney tried to move toward this a while ago, and it never quite happened. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. And it never quite clicked and never quite happened. And so we are where we are. But the idea of announcing that we're going to pay attention to schedule when everybody schedules multiple years in advance, and we still don't have enough intersection at this stage among the P4 conferences. I mean, Jim, how many teams are there in the Big Ten? There are 18.
Yep.
How many teams are there in the SEC? There are 16. You know how many games those 34 teams will play against one another from now until bowl season?
3. Okay.
3 games. So don't tell me about strength of schedule today. Don't. That's gerrymandering. You don't know who's got a strong schedule. I mean, obviously, like Ohio State and Texas and Clemson and LSU will have stronger schedules than most, because those are almost certainly going to be legitimately strong teams from other conferences. But for the most part, we won't really know strength of schedule. It's a guess. And so that bothers me, the way the CFP committee did this. I was on Sirius XM with Rick Neuheisel and Chris Childers last week, and I brought that up, that there's just not enough intersection between various conference members. This was before the SEC came out with their announcement, and Rick pointed out, and this is something that I believed for a long time, that the College Football Playoff Committee should have said, like in 2014, we're paying attention to who you play, so let's pick it up. It should have said it more than a decade ago. And to say it now, and quite likely to put it in force for the current season, is unfair to everybody involved. And hopefully it won't impact anybody who's a deserving playoff team, but it very well might.
I happen to look at
last year everybody was railing on Indiana because they didn't play anybody, even though they played the two teams that played in the national championship them that year, and they ended up playing in the two teams that played in the national championship last year. But I happened to, for no reason, look at Illinois. How do you say Illinois in the possessive term? Illinois. I hate saying Illinois. Illinois.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
It just sounds weird. I happened to look at Illinois' schedule, and I was like, oh my God, why is everybody jumping on Indiana? Illinois plays Duke, which is a P4 non-con, but that's like Indiana playing Virginia, which they, again, that was a brain fart by Indiana canceling that one. But other than Indiana, and I believe at this point, Ohio State, those are the only two ranked, not only the only two ranked teams on their schedule at this moment. They do have USC on there at home, but other than that, it is Wisconsin, Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, Purdue, and that's it. And there are 3 non-con games. And I'm like, holy crap, they play nobody. They played nobody that was nobody. At least Indiana had some nobodies that was somebody, like Michigan, who would end up beating the eventual national champion. But I'm like, wow, you want to talk about a cakewalk. Even if they lose, even if Indiana beats Illinois and Ohio State beats, they still should go 10-2 with ease.
But here's what I'll say, Jim, is that because Illinois football, although a historically stronger brand than Indiana, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, a lot has changed.
It just hasn't been for a while, but they used to have some good teams.
And Indiana, until recently, has not.
Never.
Indiana had the terrific team in 2020, and now they had a fabulous team a year ago, and the promise of great things this fall. But it's not been a program with a strong history. And here, let's put it this way: like, I'm not rooting for anything, but if Illinois winds up into November with a perfect record, and I don't know wherein do they face Ohio State? Where does that come about?
It's on the first game of what I call the second half of the season.
Okay, so they'll have, if they wind up with a perfect record into November, they'll have beaten Ohio State. So this is not germane, because they'll have accomplished something.
What the hell do the Germans got to do with it?
Yeah, see, I'm just saying, like, if Illinois goes through if they happen to play Ohio State in their 10th game and they were 9-0, they would have faced the same backlash that Indiana faced in 2024. That because they don't want to hear elsewhere about a non-elite brand winning games in a conference that is not the SEC. That it's that simple. There's a belief that the SEC is stronger, and historically, perhaps, but the Big Ten won the last 2 national championships, and the SEC supporters disregard that. I don't understand that. I mean, there have been years when the SEC was amazing. There's no doubt about that. And probably more recent years in which the SEC was amazing than the Big Ten. But it changes from year to year. And over the last couple of years, the Big Ten was stronger. And especially if you factor in current membership, you add in the California schools and Oregon, Washington, they've been better over the last couple of years as a conference than the SEC has. That doesn't mean it's going to be that way this year. I have no idea. I suspect it's going to be pretty competitive because on the one hand, you have terrific, promising teams at places like Georgia, LSU, etc. Alabama could always bounce back. And then on the other hand, you have on the other hand, you have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, all with promising teams, Indiana, Illinois. We don't know which ones will become forces this fall. We suspect we do, and often we're right, but we don't know for certain because, Jim, nobody saw Indiana. Maybe you did, but nobody on the outside saw Indiana coming a year ago.
And that's what I don't understand now. We're a couple of years into not Indiana, but just college football. I think we both agree last year the greatest season ever that I've ever been a part of.
Yes.
It was awesome. And it's a direct result of a combination of NIL and the transfer portal. Whether you like that stuff or not, it doesn't matter. It was an ingredient into leveling out the field, so to speak. But what has not leveled out are the national pundits. They're still so swayed by past success, which in some circles, I get that. I mean, Ohio State, and Alabama, and all these they're still gigantic programs. They're not going to not be gigantic programs. But
Right.
there are newcomers, and that includes Indiana. If Indiana can do what they did last year, anybody can with the right coach and the right resources. But yet, in a year like this year coming up, boy, they keep tamping. And I don't want to sound like a homer. It drives me insane. But I guess partly it's because I'm a little closer to the program because I cover it more. You've got Mel Kiper Jr. talking about Fernando Mendoza possibly being the top taken quarterback in the draft. And Indiana has All-Americans on offense at wide receiver. They have grown the offensive line. They brought in all Big Ten running back Roman Hemby from Maryland. But it's like that they didn't do anything in the offseason. They have 3 All-Americans on defense, one on each level. But it's just like, it's Indiana of old. And I really don't understand that just from a nonpartisan standpoint. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. Really, I do, because I understand that what places like Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon have had traditional success. And so they're the programs you're going to look at first. But you have to consider the possibilities that others are going to be involved. Look how close Arizona State came last year to really upsetting a lot of what was expected. They were right there with Texas in the second half of their game. Texas goes on and is right there with Ohio State in the final minutes of a CFP semifinal. So you can't say that it can't happen from out of the blue. I know that Indiana's game at Notre Dame did not go great, and their game at Ohio State did not go great. Jim, how many teams in college football would have gone into those 2 buildings and done better? I mean, not many, if any.
The vaulted SEC's Tennessee Volunteers didn't. They got
well. They went in and got housed even worse than the Hoosiers did.
Yep.
And so it bothers me that we make assumptions about these things just based on brand. Especially now that we've seen the evidence to the contrary. I
have no idea who's going to be the new Indiana. Everybody, that's what Illinois has the best chance, but that big part of that's because of the record. And another thing, I keep hearing about the teams that have, well, they've got a returning quarterback who did what? Who did nothing. Illinois' quarterback, Altmaier, had a better year than, say, Drew Allar at Penn State. He was just an offensive manager for the most part. It's all he had to be. But he's not becoming an All-American quarterback. He's not leading the draft boards. So there are teams that have more talent. Nebraska, what are they going to be like? I don't know, because you've got a quarterback that went through all the bumps and the takes of being a freshman quarterback, and they stuck with him all year long. Well, hell, he's got to come through this year, and he's probably going to show what that was worth a lot of going through that. So Nebraska is a team that, well, I don't know. They could be one of those teams that does that this year. But I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to the college football season. But the great thing about what the SEC does, how quickly does the Big Ten have to answer in kind?
On the element of the P4, they don't have to come out and say it if they don't want, because it looks like, but if not, then it's got to be whispered in everybody's ear. You got to do this. We don't. There's no way around this. You have to.
And do they have to do it by 2026, which is when the SEC's implementation of this? Now, part of that is because the P4 requirement was already there. So these teams are already playing.
Oh, no. That's not it. It's not in place. They have teams that aren't playing. They do.
Okay. I thought that they already had a P4 requirement.
The majority of their teams have a P4 game, but not all of them. So
yeah, a lot of them are rivals. Like Kentucky plays Louisville. And teams like South Carolina, I know has. So a lot of them have rivals that are out Florida State, outside of that. So it's already built in. And,
Ole Miss does not have a P4 game. So everybody else has at least one, but Ole Miss does not. So it can't have been a restriction unless they're grandfathering in Washington State, because they were certainly P4.
They're no longer a P4 team, baby. They're
right.
Not.
They are not. And so I mean, now the Big Ten has many more teams. I think it's 6 right now with no P4 games. And that includes Penn State, a national championship contender, which I don't think is ideal. But they also will play more P4 games this year as a collective than the SEC will. The SEC will play 18 plus their conference games. The Big Ten will play 12 plus their 18 extra conference games as a result of the 9-game schedule. So as a collective, they'll play 30 games against P4, whereas the SEC will play 18. So there is a difference there. But I think the Big Ten needs to match that, whether it's publicly or privately. They need to match that. I do think they got out a little bit.
I think it has to be public, even though it's going to look like little Johnny come lately. They still have to do it, and I think that they have to make it known. Okay, you went to, because the Big Ten, Kurt Signetti and others were beating that dead horse until boom. Now they're like, oh, now what are you going to do? Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jim. A lot of people presented that as if the SEC were playing checkers and the Big Ten were playing chess, because I think that's the narrative that a lot of people like to push. But it was the Big Ten that had been playing 9 conference games for like 5 years or whatever it's been. And so, come on. By copying the Big Ten, the SEC somehow looks smarter. Come on. I mean, that's absurd. But I do respect and admire the effort to go to the automatic P4 game. I think that was a wise choice. I think the Big Ten should have done it a while ago as well. I would like to, I know that a lot of people like to be protective of FCS programs, and I am not one of them. I don't think that it's good for your football program to play FCS competition. I think that all the games at the FBS level should be played against other FBS teams.
I agree. I hate that. I hate. I understand wanting to get a game in, but even that, you should not be able to go down a level. Stay in your own level. If you're an FBS school, you have to play an FBS schedule. I know that FCS schools now they're going to be the ones that suffer because they make money on these games. So that's going to go away somewhat. But and I go back to Indiana, I'm like, oh man, they're going. I really believe now they're going to have to go back, because with the SEC doing this quickly next season, boom, they're going to be. So that's another thing that cracks me up. Remember back in the day, it wasn't that very long ago. Oh, well, we can't change that. Well, these schedules are made 48 years in advance. That would take forever, and a constitutional amendment to get this done. but now all of a sudden, bam, you need to change something. Oh yeah, we can change that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the SEC, I mean, the Big Ten is going to have to. I don't think they have to, but they need to do it as by 2026, which is what the SEC does. Otherwise, now you've got the SEC that is going to again to be able to control or have the argument that no, we deserved another team in than you do because we play a tougher schedule.
Yes. 100% true. And at that point, they'll have data to support it because, as I said, they're already playing more outside P4 conference.
And I'll be honest with you, they're a deeper conference in the Big Ten. They have a few more, I'll just go with last year. You can't go off of 15 years ago, but I think that they have a few more teams deeper that are just a slightly better than maybe the Big Ten the last year. But that's
let me point out, Jim. Let me point this out. Okay, the opening game last year for LSU was a game against Southern California in a neutral environment, not in the Coliseum. Neutral environment. I think it was Vegas. That SEC team was not great. They did not beat a lot of great Big Ten opponents.
That's the same as you're talking about LSU?
Yeah.
That's the same as LSU team that a week after Indiana went to Los Angeles and beat the snot out of LSU or UCLA, that UCLA goes into Baton Rouge and was tied with LSU at the half.
So that's what I'm saying is that you're kind of falling victim to what you're trying to say. I mean, Michigan was not an impressive team for most of last year, and then they went into the horseshoe and beat Ohio State, and then they went into a neutral field game against SEC power Alabama, which was the most egregiously excluded team from the CFP. And how'd that turn out?
Yeah, they got robbed. They were robbed.
Yes, but then they played Michigan in a game. Not only did they play Michigan, but they played it with their regular starting quarterback. So it's not one of those, well, all our guys checked out for the NFL draft, and they still got housed. So no, I'm not buying that they're deeper necessarily. In certain years they are, but I don't think they were a year ago. I don't think they were a deeper conference a year ago. I think they just had more teams that had the brand recognition, like Alabama, that were on the fringe. And so therefore, they got the respect down to Selection Day and the ability to cry that they got a raw deal, as opposed to Indiana, which actually went out and played great football for 4 months and got into the tournament.
And another thing I hate right now, I shouldn't say hate, but I think it's just completely and totally ridiculous, is any poll. I don't care if it's the AP poll. I don't care if it's coach's poll. I don't care if it's a straw poll. Teams, there's no way you know the strength that you know whether Miami of Florida is the 10th best team in the country and Texas is the best. Why? Because they got a quarterback with the last name of Manning? Well, gee whiz. So that makes them better than Texas A&M or whomever, Illinois, that everybody's bragging about. I hate that. At least the college football selection committee does it the right way. They wait, like 7 weeks before they come out with their, however long it is. Before they come out with their first poll.
It depends on how you count week 0, but it's somewhere.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah,
well,
that's how it should be. But I know this is fodder for people to read and all that.
Yeah, it's just a projection. Here's where I don't like. I don't mind the preseason polls. What I don't like, Jim, are the early week polls that ignore what actually happens on the field. Okay, so I don't know. Let's just use Georgia as an example. I think Texas, I think, is the preseason number 1 team. Okay, so let's just say Texas. Texas is the number 1 team, and let's say that I don't even know who they play, but let's say they play Texas State, and they go out and they look miserable, and they win 19-18. Well, just because they didn't lose, they're going to stay number 1. Well, meanwhile, I don't know, let's say LSU goes into Clemson and wins 42-10. They can't get that much higher because hardly anybody lost in front of them. Poll logic drives me nuts. Well, we can't move them unless they lose. Well, no, you can move them. You just guessed whether they were good or not, and their performance said you were wrong. So admit it.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's I don't understand that thinking because it's supposed to be where you are right now. Well, if you look bad, you're bad right now.
Yes.
So, hey, let's take a quick break. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, our nation's longest sports publication, with us right now. Back with more on the other side of these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joining us. And we've been talking about the scheduling model between the two power conferences. But, you know, we haven't also mentioned the ACC also still only plays 8 conference games. So with the fact of the CFP being tied into this, don't they have to do the same and follow suit? And I know that they don't want to because, well, frankly, their conference kind of sucks right now. It's not been very strong. It's just not deep. It used to be. You used to have Miami of Florida, and even Virginia Tech was tougher. But it's been Clemson and the Sisters of the Poor Miami was back last year pretty good, and they're ranked in the top 10 this year, but they've got a different quarterback. Is that where Carson Beck is?
That is where Carson Beck is, yes.
Yeah, so so you've got at least a couple of solid teams there as I quickly look through the remainder of the top 25, and there is not another ACC team to be had. But I would think that the ACC would want to do that, to say, hey, we would love to try to get more of this pie. But if you're playing 8 conference games, and they're going to have to catch up.
Well, the problem that they have, Jim, is that they have an odd number of teams. Now, they could resolve this a couple of ways. One is to try to
bring in another team from California.
Well, they should have added Memphis. They should have added Memphis a year ago anyway. When they added SMU, they should, if they had it, you gave me a choice between those two schools, I would have chosen SMU. The Memphis administration offered the Big 12 a lot of money. I think like $200 million to allow them to join the Big 12. I don't think they would offer that to the ACC, given the ACC's slightly tenuous existence, or at least in its current form, because of the desire of Clemson and Florida State to get out. I don't think that Memphis would offer as much, but they still might offer to take less money, et cetera, and that would solve a lot of problems. It would For one, it would give them a better basketball team. Like, they need more good hoop teams. You'd never say that about the ACC, but you saw last season they could have used the Tigers. That's one. And two, it would give them an even number of football programs, and a football program that's been fairly consistently good over the last decade or so. And so it would give them the opportunity to go to 9 games. As it stands now, they'd have to make some kind of arrangement, either count a Notre Dame game as a conference game, or have multiple games between two teams. Like, I don't know, just use an example, Virginia Tech plays Duke twice or something like that. They have a problem with the number of teams in terms of how to work out that extra conference game. So I'm not exactly sure what way they would go to resolve that.
Yeah, I don't either. And boy, did I go long in that first segment. But that was that's what happens when you have a good conversation. Because I've got to hit a break here in a little bit. I don't know if you have time to stick around for another segment, but K-Bro is going to join us, by the way. So that would be kind of a nice little additive, as he's been covering the Florida Gators. So when I see him pop on, I'll jump off. But I was just looking at what, say, the Iowa schedule is. I'm just trying to jump around and get a different taste. Now, Iowa, they play Iowa State in week 2, which you want to talk about getting tested. That's a rival. That's a team they're going to play every year. So they're already playing the 9+1, and teams that are already playing the 9+1, I think that helps them because they're accustomed to that. And now, fortunately for Indiana, if they can get Iowa to beat Iowa State, Indiana has to go to Iowa to play one of their games, and that would be a feather in their cap. But they play Albany, Rutgers, UMass, Wisconsin, which used to be, and you can't control. Wisconsin was expected to be better than they have been under Luke Fickell. It's been a little bit of a surprise there, but they have to play Penn State. Let's see. They have to play Oregon and Nebraska. So I'll give them, and USC. So
and their non-conference game is Alabama. So don't forget that.
Oh, you're talking about Wisconsin's, yeah.
Yes, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and Iowa's got a solid schedule. They play Nebraska, they play Oregon, they play USC, they play Penn State, they play Indiana, rival Wisconsin, and Iowa State. That is a solid schedule, but Iowa fans are used to that. They're used to having great games and having people like that come in. All right, so I got to hit a quick break. When we come back, Mike will be with us, and K-Bro should be joining us as well, as we'll continue this discussion. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, back with more right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups.
Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour and Adidas, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun cannot lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Welcome back. Mike DeCourcy with us from the Sporting News, and joined by the legend, K-Bro, Kevin Brockway.
What a treat! I get to go on with the great Mike DeCourcy. This is awesome. I'm
well, he was kind enough to stick around because he heard you were coming, and he couldn't pass the opportunity.
How about those Reds are in a playoff race with the Mets there? You know, it's gonna be interesting going down to the wire here, 2.5 games.
Yeah, but Mike's a Reds fan as well. I've got to be honest with you. I don't have much faith in them. I mean, they keep losing games they shouldn't lose, but hey, I just keep hoping, man. The fact that they're in a playoff race is just awesome to see. And
Terry Francona, manager of the year, he's done.
It's funny. The National League Central, which is generally the weakest division in the National League, is potentially looking at putting 3 teams in the playoffs this year, which would be kind of wild.
Yeah, no question. So what do you think about the SEC going to 9 games? Are you excited? Are you happy?
Did you hear about that? I'll be darned.
The playing field is level now. No more complaining or griping.
Well, it's not really. The SEC is kind of, I'll see you and raise you one with the P4. That's exactly what myself and Mike have been talking about, how they've kind of thrown it back at the Big Ten now with the 9-game plus the P4 requirement.
And they don't have that in the Big Ten.
They do not. There are 6 teams this year that will not play a Big Ten, will not play a P4 non-conference opponent, K. And one of them is presumptive Big Ten favorite, Penn State. Penn State will play Villanova. They will play Nevada, and they will play FIU. That is their non-conference schedule this year. Not an impressive slate for a national championship contender. Ohio State's going to play Texas. Michigan's going to play Oklahoma. So they've got serious games. Obviously, USC has the longstanding Notre Dame rivalry that they'll play. But too many Big Ten members don't have that game in there. And now, again, I'm not blaming them necessarily for this year. Blame Penn State, yeah, because they knew they were coming for it. But the others, I don't blame them because they were playing with the extra league game a more challenging schedule. But in the future, I think they have to pick that up. If the SEC is going to do that, and now that we've heard from the BCS selection committee that they are going to pay attention to strength of schedule, I think the Big Ten absolutely has to pick that up.
Well, Florida, last year they had 11 P4s. This year they have 10 with Miami and Florida State. So although they opened with the mighty Long Island Sharks.
I didn't even know they had a team. I did not.
I just swear to God, that's what I said yesterday. I'm like, I know they have a basketball team in Long Island, but I'm like, I had no idea they even had a football team. Yeah, that's not exactly the stiffest of things. Then it goes South Florida, who, they used to have a decent program. But look, they play LSU, they play Miami of Florida, so you've got that on there. So that's that's an out-of-conference toughie there. So, and they play Texas A&M, you play Texas, Mississippi State, Georgia, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida State. So they've got a tough schedule, though. It's definitely one that is going to
they're going to know that they had a schedule. Okay, bro will rejoin us here in a second, but yeah, I'll just be glad when when everybody is on the same page. But there's always going to be complaints. Well, yeah, but they're playing Virginia and they're 2-10 last year. It's like, dude, you cannot control. You get to a point. It was like, I'll use Indiana as an example. You can't control the fact that the teams that played in the national championship the year before, Michigan and Washington, were not what they were at that time. Especially when that game was scheduled, they were
right.
Team.
Right.
So
but you
only
can't
so much you can do.
But you do have to then supersede in performance what others are doing. If your schedule is not as strong, then you have to do what Indiana did, which was win every game but a road game that every single team in America, except apparently Michigan on that one Saturday, would have lost. You have to be able to do that. And they did. So good. They belong in. But that's the difference. That's what happens in the NCAA men's basketball tournament as well, is that teams have, if their schedules are weaker, then their performance has to be greater. And they have to overcome their schedule. Duke, for instance, last year, many fewer powerful games for the Devils than teams that were in leagues like the Big Ten or SEC, because they were in the ACC. They played almost no consequential conference games in basketball last year, but they won almost all of them. So their performance superseded the level of their schedule. And that's what's going to happen in those years when your schedule breaks badly for you, even if it's out of your control. I have a friend, Brian Snow, who used to be the basketball recruiting GM or whatever they call it. I don't even know what his title was at Notre Dame and at Penn State. And it's also been one of the great basketball recruiting analysts over the last couple of decades. I think he decided that that he wanted to leave Notre Dame. So right now I don't know if he's got a thing. But Brian always had a great quote.
He's not Christian Lander's manager, is he?
No. Brian had a great quote whenever we'd get to March and somebody would have a bad schedule and maybe not a great performance. He would say, "It's not your fault, but it's your problem." So you have to supersede your schedule at a level where you can't leave any doubt. You can't say, okay, well, we dropped 3 tough games and then beat 9 bad teams and say, yeah, but you should let us in. I mean, you have to do something that says you're great. And so if you're not beating great teams, you got to beat a lot of average ones.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, I agree. I think, scheduling is always tricky, though, with football, especially because, you do these so far in advance and stuff. And like with, you were talking or alluding earlier to Penn State, I'd be curious to see the explanation that James Franklin had, because he did have Virginia Tech, right? Home and home with them and so forth and everything. But I think if you make it a requirement, for sure, I think definitely, all the schools will abide by it. And, there's been some talk about an SEC Big Ten crossover series too in the future, which would be exciting, right? If you would have that like a 1 week, like a challenge type thing, and that would be a lot of fun. And I think certainly with, what Kurt Cignetti said about following the SEC model, I guess you can that's no longer an excuse. And he's going to have to, step up next year as well and in future years and try to find, another Power 4 conference opponent on that schedule, Jim. But I'm curious, I mean, is there any room, or do you reshuffle the deck there? Or how does that work? I mean, how far mapped out are their future schedules in Indiana?
We had this conversation earlier. It used to take a constitutional amendment to get a schedule changed. And now it's like, oh, we need to change that. Okay. Hey, change that schedule. It's not a problem at all anymore. Now, what it will require, and I guess I shouldn't laugh, but Indiana having just gotten paid $1.5 million to get out of the Louisville and Virginia series, they're going to have to turn around and reschedule P4 teams to replace them, which means they're probably going to have to pay the teams that are on their schedule now to get out of those games on top of it. So, and you're not going to get a home in return. You're going to get a home and home type of series. So you lose the money that it cost you to pay to get out, and you lose the money that you would have generated at a home game. But it's a necessary evil, and Indiana's just going to have to take a bite of that. That was, as Mike said, it was just poor planning, but they're going to have to do that, and they're going to have to do it. But it's the entire Big Ten that's going to have to do that. That does not already have now Wisconsin. They played Alabama for the last year and this year. Yeah. They've already got that going. Some teams already have that built in. But for those that don't, they're going to have to. Now, Indiana does have Notre Dame coming onto the schedule, but I don't believe that is until 2030. I think it's 30 and 31. So you've got 4 seasons in where you've got to make an adjustment, which the further out, of course, it is, the easier it is. The most difficult one would be, 2026, making it happen sooner rather than later to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Well, one thing Indiana can be very creative with, and you see this more in the basketball realm, is you've got Lucas Oil Stadium, 40 miles up the street. So you could create like a home neutral kind of game that's not necessarily a home gate game that could be attractive to like a big time program. And you bring the big time program in, that you say, hey, you get a little visibility in Indianapolis if you want to mine that as a recruiting area. And by the way, Terry McLaurin, congratulations to him on getting that big contract, right? A former Indy prep star. So that could possibly work using Lucas Oil, because wasn't Louisville, one of the Louisville games was supposed to be at Lucas Oil, right? Or did they actually play that game, right?
They did not play that not this time.
Not this time, but they played one in the past, right? And I think certainly like using that as a carrot to get a big time program in there, I think would certainly work. Why not play Kentucky again? That'd be a good series.
Well, that's the first thing that everybody thinks of, and that would be great with one exception. Kentucky plays Louisville. That is their rivalry, and that's a non-con game. Yeah, and so that only leaves them with 2 non-cons, and they're not going to schedule in Indiana in one of those 2. Nor would I. I wouldn't do that either, Mike.
No, I would not. If I'm a Kentucky, I don't need 2 power non-conference games. They are a team that is trying to be relevant in the SEC. And now that you're playing 9 conference games, you don't need to play.
And that's like Indiana tried to be relevant when they were in the Big Ten East.
Right. Exactly. The exact same concept that the schedule is harder when you have to play that many games and you're playing your rivalry. You're good. Kentucky just has to keep playing that Louisville game, crossing their fingers that Louisville's good, not as good as Louisville wants to be, but good enough to reflect well on them when they win the game and go from there. Indiana would do well to find something similar to that, someone that they can play on a regular basis that would be competitive most years. Hey, come to Pitt, because I'd love to see the Hoosiers here in the Steel City. Pitt's usually pretty good, not always great. They have won the ACC as recently as 2021. So that would be an example of a team. Plus, Coach Sig would love to get back to his roots here. I know he's a proud Yinzer and would love to do that. But that's the kind of opponent that would be good for them. And I will say that the games they got out of, Louisville and Virginia, Louisville maybe a little bit more so than Virginia. Virginia goes up and down a bit. But those are the kind of opponents that would have been good for them to play. Yeah.
How about I was going to say, how about Indiana, West Virginia, the Darren DeVries Bowl? That'd be a lot of fun, right?
Yes, absolutely. West Virginia would be great for them as well. West Virginia is usually pretty competitive, not a power, but a pretty competitive program. I think Indiana needs that back. And I sometimes you make decisions based on what's working and then maybe not always seeing what's going to work in the future.
And it's going to probably be, with Indiana kind of raising their level, the lower end P4 teams, probably not really that interested in playing a team that's on the rise. So that's
Right.
possibly going to make it a little more difficult for Indiana to get those teams.
Well, I think there's a couple of ways around that, and one of them is to offer yourself as the road opponent in the first year. That would be one way to do that. Okay, we'll go on the road first time, and then you come back to us. A lot of teams would feel better about something like that. They don't have to take the Indiana loss on the road the first time around. They might get them, they might get what's a quality win for them by bringing IU into their building. Something like that could be helpful. And I don't know that there's any SEC teams that are starving for non-conference games now because of the fact that most of them already have won this year, even though there wasn't a requirement. But I would imagine that there would be some ACC teams that might be amenable to it. Again, that's who you walked away from. But the SEC does have more gaps in their schedule than others. It just might, it might cost you having to buy out whoever they need to dump. That's the problem. You might have to buy yourself out of your game, and then you've got to pay them enough to buy out theirs because they've got to have holes in their schedule if you're going to make it happen in 2026. Or you
do we eventually get to some type of SEC Big Ten crossover type of thing?
Yeah, that's what they've been talking about for sure.
Yes.
That would be a lot of fun. Jim, I'm curious about camp and for Indiana and sustainability. I mean, how much has that been? Because Tom Allen had the 2-year window and it fizzled. What makes you guys confident that this is going to be a sustainable undercurrent for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and it's going to.
Well, nothing against Tom Allen, a great person, but he was not a Big Ten head coach. Curt Cignetti has been a head coach for a long time, has never had a losing record, had the bravado and the swag to come in and say he was going to do what he did last year, and then did it. But also they didn't lose hardly any personnel, and were able to add some positive personnel in key places. I think that the offense that they ran last year, that the numbers that they put up, that catches eyes. That catches the eyes of quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs and defensively. Man, what they did defensively, they allowed the least amount of rushing yards in the country. So that catches eyes of guys that want to elevate their game. And now with the rev share, that also allows them to be on a little more equal footing. That should not be a problem because their recruiting is just slowly getting better and better. I don't see a problem with sustaining it because people seem and kids seem to enjoy playing for Cignetti because although he comes across the way he does, a lot of people outside the program, he's cocky. Well, I think he's just a really confident person with a little cockiness thrown in. But behind it all, he knows what's what. He enjoys those moments. He enjoys getting to stick that in a little bit. As well as anybody. That's where he's got a little Bob Knight in him, without being a complete and total. Steve
Spurrier was that way down here in Florida too. It's kind of fun.
And they loved it. And they loved him, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, no you mean without you
free shoes? You are you talking about free shoes? You? I miss Steve Spurrier for that reason. He was so much fun. He added fun to the game. And while if Curt Cignetti was at Florida doing this, I guarantee you it would be taken a whole different way. But the fact that Curt Cignetti is doing it from Indiana, well, that makes a huge difference, in my opinion, to people.
Well, that's why he was National Coach of the Year for the Sporting News, because he did it in Indiana. Yeah, it was an amazing performance a year ago. And hey, there's a lot of I don't want to say pressure, but there's a belief that it can happen again. And so the opportunity to do that, and maybe not in the exact same fashion, but the opportunity to do that would be fantastic. It would be an amazing achievement to follow up last year's phenomenal season with something approximating that. It would be a statement of excellence. He waited so long for his break to get to this level, and it would be really something to see him take great advantage in year 1 and year 2.
And he's surrounded by good people. The coaches he has around him have been around him for a long time. Brian Haynes, his defensive coordinator, who was on the very short list of the Broyle Award last year, has been there for quite some time. And that only happens when they want to stay where they are. And the players, like I said, they didn't lose much personnel. So
right.
That shows a lot. That shows guys like playing for him in addition to other things, but the opportunities they get. They're getting the
guys like playing for him, Jim, but also they didn't, they were shrewd about handling the retention aspect. That's an underrated element of what happened. So often in college basketball over the past decade, past half decade, I come in and say, "Hey, coach, I just got, my advisor just got offered a ton of money for me to transfer." And instead of saying, "Okay, how big a ton?" "Okay, well, we can come close to that, or we can match that, or we can surpass it, or whatever." They say, "How dare you come to me with that?" That's what's been happening in too many programs in recent vintage. And it's slowing down now. It's not happening now. But for a long time, a lot of the transfers happened simply because players came in saying, "Hey, I really like it here, but I can't say no to this money. Can you come close to it? Can you match it? Can you exceed it?" And too many coaches wouldn't even offer. Indiana, quite obviously, whichever one of their players somebody tried to poach, Indiana managed to fend it off. That's shrewd operation. You have to give Indiana credit, because there's no way with what they accomplished a year ago and with who's coming back that nobody made at least inquiries on whether they would be movable.
And what else was I going to? Well, the last thing I was going to mention, in a daggone it, that didn't already slip my mind. Dang it! But what is coming up next for you, brother?
Yeah, I have a piece coming out this week about this weekend's huge game between LSU and Clemson, about the coach for one of those two teams. I think you can imagine which one I'm writing about, because I did mention a week ago that he had Indiana ties. So
I wonder, could that be a former head coach?
Yes.
Don't you love seeing, though? Tom Allen's a great guy, I'm telling you. And I think he is where he belongs as a defensive coordinator. Maybe he comes back as a head coach in later times. I don't know, but he has really succeeded. That's where he should have stayed for a while longer and broke his bone. But because he made an impact the minute he arrived at Indiana under Kevin Wilson. We could all see.
By the way, I wasn't talking about. When I said Indiana ties, I didn't mean IU ties. I meant state of Indiana ties. I'm writing about Brian Kelly. So sorry to mislead you.
That's okay. I see. That's where my head. Brian Kelly. Yeah, it's
yes.
Now, what are the Indiana ties?
He coached at Notre Dame.
Oh! I was thinking Chip Kelly. I'm sorry. Too many Kellys. Too many Kellys out there, especially Kelly. It's an Irish name anyway. So yeah. And what did you have before that? I'm trying to find it. I can't find it.
What did I have?
Your previous piece that was out most recently.
Oh,
just for people to go back and read. I like to make them go back and read everything.
Yes, I've written multiple pieces recently. I wrote about what we just talked about. That the committee should have made this emphasis on stronger schedules a decade ago. And I also wrote about, and this will be of interest to IU, to Indiana fans. It's about the quarterback decision to not start Anthony Richardson and to start the artist known as Danny Dimes. That I pointed out. I did some research about how regularly teams are failing with top 5 quarterback draft picks. Over the last 10 years, the failure rate is staggering. And I suspect, Jim, and what I mean, there's only data. There's no hard and fast truth to it. But I suspect that the rush to put those top 5 guys into the lineup on day one is wrecking them. I think it's a terrible thing to put somebody out there before they're ready. Guys like Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron's not in the greatest shape. I mean, he hasn't had a great couple of years, the past few years, but it's one of the all-time greats in the NFL. Tom Brady. A lot of those guys sat and watched. Lamar Jackson didn't play until the final 7 games of his rookie year. A lot of these guys did not start either immediately or the majority of their rookie years, and they're the ones that are turning into successes. So I think that had the fact that the Colts rushed a guy who everybody knew was a project into the lineup in 2023 just boggles my mind, and I think they're paying for it now.
K-Bro and both of you, how about Ohio State banning Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports from being in the stadium for the Texas-Ohio State game, although he is a Fox contributor now?
It's, I think, a little interesting there. I think we're seeing it throughout sports. I was talking to a new colleague of mine, Andrew, and listen, ESPN with the SEC, Fox with the Big Ten. The days of being like an objective sports journalist are dying very quickly.
Well, he's not a journalist. Let's get that out of the way. I don't have a problem with it simply because of that reason. He's not a journalist, and he's a big Michigan fan. He's been trolling them, so I don't have a problem with that. Don't credential his ass. He's not a media. He's not a traditional media member. But what about?
He purports himself. I mean, if he's working for Fox, I mean, he purports himself as that, and there's a feeling in this new landscape that a lot of these bloggers are media members, and it's like, I don't know if people discern that or not or whatever, but it's part of the problem with the new frontier of the internet. The lines are blurred. Mike and I both went to college. You did too, for college for this. We learned about ethics, about fairness, about telling both sides of the story, about being balanced. And right now, what we have in this landscape are people that are, really in all realms of journalism, people that are telling people what they want to hear instead of what, maybe needs to be heard and so forth. And even in the sports realm too, it's very disappointing and disillusioning and, not how we were brought up. Right.
And I will
say, by the way, Jim, is that although that was reported by Front Office Sports, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo is reporting that he is not banned. So just take that as what it's worth. He is not banned, although according to Ross, Fox decided not to have him on the set inside the stadium. So that's the latest reporting on this item.
But this is a problem when Fox and they get in bed with these entities that are not broadcast entities yet purport them.
Yeah, because they're bringing them on for one reason, and that is to stir the pot.
It makes it, well, not just stirring the pot, but but they're doing it because they have the social media audience. But don't put them on, legitimize them on this journalistic platform that makes them seem like that they're reputable, and that's what bothers me, is that when you have instances like this, it just it frustrates me. It's a personal opinion, but
and I get it, because this is good, because I know how much work I put in, but I know how much work writers put in, the research and all that goes in, and it's I can sit here and spout opinions all day long, but
presenting something that's fair and objective and not making fun of an opposing fan base and purporting that as journalism. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, I have an obvious conflict in this conversation. I work.
I know, and I know that, because
I'm staying out of it.
That's why I'm leaving you out of that.
Yeah,
but it is ironic though that Fox, that has such a huge role in not just college sports now, they own a third of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mike. So you can come back and cover the Indy 500, baby.
I'll do the grid projections for the Indy 500 now.
When I was talking to my colleague too, I'll flip the script here, because I was talking about ESPN's blatant attack last year on Indiana in the college football playoff.
It was
after
horrible.
they lost to Notre Dame.
And how about Heather Dinich and IU grad leading the parade?
It was so transparent, SEC bias, because they are SEC rights holder, and that's not right either. I don't think. It's like, just call it like you see it. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, it's just very disillusioning that we're seeing major journalistic entities kind of like pick sides and report based on that side rather than giving an honest, objective opinion on things. But I think it's
I will tell you.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Kevin, in 2018, just to show you that it's possible to not do that, I sat on the Big Ten Network on the first Sunday in February, I believe it was, and we put the schedule. I think this was on an episode of Big Ten and Beyond. It might have been on a halftime type program. We put the schedule for Nebraska, which was having a great year under Tim Miles. It was a fine team. We put the schedule up and we looked at it and who they were going to play the rest of the year. And I said on the Big Ten Network, it did not look good for them. As much respect as I had for that team, it did not look good for them. And I thought it would come down to a particular game or games. And they played Michigan in the quarterfinals. I think that Nebraska turned out to be the 5th place team that year. So it was like a 4-5 deal on the Friday quarterfinal. And they gave it a heck of a run against a really fine Michigan team. And didn't win the game. Actually, I think they were the 4 and Michigan was the 5, but whatever, because they only had one game in New York, and they gave it. And I've never been in a locker room that was as quiet. I mean, it was like the noise had been vacuumed out of the room. It was so quiet in there because they knew that they probably weren't going to make it, that they had to have that Michigan game. So they just didn't have enough quality wins in what was not a great Big Ten basketball season. So we pointed all that out on the Big Ten Network. You can be objective in those venues. And there are terrific analysts for the SEC Network. Colt Kubelik, one of my favorites, who I talked to for this Brian Kelly piece that I'm doing. You get the straight scoop from him, the fair analysis, true analysis. I think there are lots of people at the SEC Network who do great work. But I understand your point about what happened last year and how the analysis was, SEC heavy in regards to the CFP.
No, I do. I think there are varying degrees to it. And I think that they do, purport themselves objective on some subject. But when it really affects the pocketbook, like it did in that college football playoff, because of revenue shares, I think they kind of went in attack mode, which I didn't think was right. But it is what it is. And I know that you do fine work and that you're a one of the true ones, one of the guardians of that, of objectivity. And, we all do fine work. We're all just trying to make a living at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. Well, you do a great job, Kevin. I appreciate you.
As I do, both of you. And the Sporting News, Kevin, is our nation's oldest, longest sports reporting agency, and Mike has been there since day one.
No, just 140 years this March.
Damn, you look good for your age, man. You look so good. Bro, what is up next for you, brother? You are in the heart of Gator country, SEC country.
Yeah. And I have a fun piece coming out tomorrow on LIU. I kind of talk to their athletic director and their coach.
Hey, and again, you confirmed that they do have a football program.
They were the former CW Post. And a little bit about, because I'm from the New York area too, I took a little special interest in it, but they don't train in Brooklyn. They actually have a campus in Long Island.
Of course they don't. They don't have it's not big enough to have a football field on it.
They do have a nice soccer field down there. Apparently they found some green space down there for soccer, because I looked at they have a soccer stadium right on, the East River near there. That's actually pretty nice. But yeah, football wise, you need a lot more green space than that. So they actually have all their stuff out on Long Island, and they've got a lot of Florida kids, so they're very excited about coming down here. And
there's a lot of stuff ends up in the East River.
Bowles' son plays for them. He's a defensive back. That's kind of interesting too. And the Buccaneers coach, and I'm trying to effort to see if he's coming for the game. So it's just an interesting little story about and what the payout, which is $525,000, kind of means for their athletic department, and the visibility of playing this kind of game, also what it means for their program.
But you being from Queens, a lot of things end up in the East River that back in the day that nothing to do with football, baby.
People wearing cement shoes, yeah, you know what I mean. It's
you got planes landing on the Hudson up there. I mean, Sully, you got all kinds of stuff. All right, man, I cannot thank both of you enough as always. This has been an incredible fun day, no matter what. I don't care what we're talking about. Getting you two together is always a blast. But Mike, thank you for taking extended time as always. And K-Bro for taking time away from your schedule as well. The peeps always love you, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's always good to catch up with the Indiana folks. I miss all you guys, and it's a lot of fun. And sorry for the technical difficulties here and there, but thanks for sticking with me.
Hey, so what's Florida going to do this year? Do they have a shot?
I predicted 9-3. I think they're going to be, line of scrimmage. They finally look like an SEC line of scrimmage. They have a little bit of depth. DJ Lagway, I think, is a budding star quarterback. The key, obviously, is keeping him healthy. They've got two pretty good running backs. Receiver core is a little banged up going into the season, but they got a lot of speed there. I like their team. I mean, but it's still the SEC. They got, toughest schedule in the country per, 7 top 25 teams. They're going to trip up a little bit here and there, but I think that they'll be a borderline playoff team. I don't think they'll quite make it, but I think 9-3 regular season, they'll play in a major New Year's Bowl.
Well, if Indiana 9-3 is the bottom for them, and if that happens, we could see a Gators-Hoosiers matchup.
Yeah, why not? That'd be a lot of fun.
It would be. Mike, appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy your week, brother, and we'll see you again next week, guys.
All right, we'll see you.
Have a great one. More coming up from Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Yesterday, Kurt Signetti met with the media at his first press conference for game week, week 1 of the college football season. Let's hear what Coach
game week. It's exciting, but it's a total gear shift in terms of the mental intensity, the preparation required, the urgency, staff and players, stacking moments, meetings, practices, days to put ourselves in the best position to play as well as we can on Saturday. Against a team that I really respect, Old Dominion, a conference that I respect a lot. Obviously, We've talked about the history of the Sun Belt teams, current members of the Sun Belt, and the Blue Bloods that they have defeated. It's a who's who in the top 15. And, last year Old Dominion opened the season at South Carolina. Final score is 23-19. South Carolina beat them by 4. It's a hard place to play. I know that from being at Alabama. Old Dominion's got the lead with 6 minutes to go and has the ball, fumbles inside their own 10. Did it twice in the game. South Carolina's touchdown drives were 6 and 2 yards. I mean, they were extremely fortunate to beat Old Dominion. So, all but one of Old Dominion's losses last year were by 1 score or less. And like I've told you in the past, I've beaten Virginia Tech twice in recent history. So we got to be ready to go. It's all about us and our preparation, having the right mindset, and going out there and playing our brand of ball with a bunch of new faces. Questions?
Yeah, Kurt, you talked about kind of each of your teams having a unique identity and personality. Now that you had a kind of a full off season with this group and got to know them in the locker room, what do you like about them, and anything that makes them unique to other teams you've coached?
Well, I like where we're at coming out of camp in terms of how we practice, how we compete. And the identity is sort of established throughout the season once you start playing the games. And at the end of the year, we'll be able to write the book, close the book on this football team. Like I've said before, we got a lot of nice pieces, got a lot of new guys. They'll be playing their first football for us. So anxious to see how we respond and react, but it's my job to get us to play the way we're supposed to play. My job and the assistants, play in, play out till the game's over, from first play to last play.
Zach, on your left side.
Kurt, I guess sort of a double-barrel question on just the health of your team. Do you feel good about where you are going into week one health-wise, and do you feel like you also had what you needed health-wise through fall camp to get healthy competition, that you had guys competing for spots without injuries affecting that 11 on 11, those settings were really productive?
Yeah, I feel really good about the health of our team right now going into the opener. During camp, we did have some guys in and out defensively at times, and one offensive lineman missed a little time, but it's healthy now. So overall, I'm pleased with where we're at.
Seth, on your left, and Pete.
Kurt, one thing that so many guys said about Curtis' work last year was just how even-keeled he was as a leader, just not getting too high, not getting too low. I know you obviously aren't able to see how Fernando's going to handle big moments on the field at this point because he hasn't been out there yet. But what sorts of leadership qualities have you seen from him? How do the guys kind of rally around him?
Well, he's played a lot of football, so I've got a lot of confidence in him. And I think what you saw last season, as Curtis started to produce at a high level in the games, then his leadership and his status with his teammates. I've never made it a point to try to make the new quarterback the leader of the team. Our focus has always been on developing him, making him the best he can be, because you lead through your actions, and there's nothing like positive performance to establish yourself as a leader.
Pete, on your left, and Sammy.
Yeah, Kurt, can you assess the offensive line, and in particular, what qualities, what attributes make a quality offensive line?
Well, you got to have a certain amount of size, and you got to be tough, ankle, knee, hip flexibility, explosive power, initial quickness. And, the ability to stay healthy really helps. And the smarter you are, the better, because there's a lot of variables up front and multiples. A lot of things happen where you got to make quick adjustments. So we're fortunate to have a pretty experienced group, and I feel good about them.
Sam, on your right, and Jared.
Coach, our quarterback Colton Joseph led the Sun Belt in total yards last year. What makes him so hard to defend? And then their defense returns an All-American at linebacker and a couple other good players. What makes them a challenge to prepare for?
Right. Offensively, it all begins with the structure and design of the offense. They're going to spread you out, big wide splits, force you to defend the whole field, and with the box count. and the advantage throws and get the run game going. They've always been high in the conference in rushing, and they do a really nice job. The quarterback can beat you with his legs and his arm. He missed a game and a half. He didn't take over as a starter till maybe game 4, and missed a game or so. Him and the backup together rushed for about 900, and threw for about 2,000. Touchdown interception ratio was good. So, they try to create space through their alignments and take advantage and put themselves in the best play. They've got 3 or 4 offensive linemen returning, both quarterbacks, and then they lose their skill guys. They've got some new guys coming in. Defensively, it's a 3-3 defense, a little different than what you see, a variety of blitzes and looks. It's a challenge. And Jason Henderson returns at middle linebacker. He got hurt last season early in the year, redshirted, had 170 tackles in 2023. I think he led the country in tackles.
In terms of game day operation with the assistants, do you expect it to be the same as last year with Coach Shanahan in the booth and then Haynes on the field? And then Coach Whitmer, is he going to kind of take on the same responsibilities as Tino had last year?
Yep.
Coach, last year over this year, what did you learn about going in? I know you've been doing this for a long time, but game preparation, game 1, for getting this team in order, anything different than you've done year over year?
Not really. I mean, I think the core methods are about the same. It's just the sense of urgency during game week is so much different. They're all excited to play, and now we've got to put the proper preparation in and understand that while they're excited to play, the game's going to be hard. I expect a very tough challenge from Old Dominion, and we're going to have to play really well from the first play to the last play. And we'll learn a lot about our team in game 1 like we did last season.
Coach, with the talent and depth in the running back room, how do you plan to rotate through those guys at least the first couple of weeks of the season to figure out who maybe can lead that backfield going forward?
We've always split the carries. Right now, the top 3 backs are Hemby, Black, and Beebe, and I expect them all to carry the ball Saturday.
You've talked highly about strength coach Derek Owens ever since you got here. What's the report card you've gotten through fall camp leading into this game week?
What sort of what?
What's the report card on how the team's doing in the weight room from Derek Owens?
Good. And I thought we handled practice as well, and we stayed relatively injury-free. So, yeah, he does a good job.
At corner opposite Ponds, how happy are you with how Jamari's last handful of weeks have been, and just how much did Rylan and is it Bell that's kind of also in there? How much has he kind of challenged them as well?
Yeah, well, I thought Sharp really came on at the end of last season. He started the last 3 or 4 games for us, and he's picked up where he left off. Got a lot of confidence in him. Gandy's played a lot of football coming from Pitt as a starter, and Jalen Bell's a good young prospect.
You talked after the first fall practice that you were focused on Old Dominion. How nice is it to have the sole focus and have the team's full attention on game week?
Well, hopefully we have their full attention throughout the week and on Saturday, right? But yeah, camp is important. You're establishing the habits that are going to carry you through the season, installing, developing players, learning about your team. Now it's time to go to war, and it's serious business now.
I'm not asking you about Lewis Moore's court case is this week, and he could find out about his eligibility. Not asking about the case, but in terms of football prep, with his uncertainty, how have you kind of handled it? As you kind of shift to game week and not knowing if you're going to have him or not. Is it like guy injured where you kind of have a backup plan in place? How have you kind of balanced that with just not knowing yet?
We're handling it the best way we see fit.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Coach Kurt Cignetti, yesterday's presser, talking to the media ahead of this week's game 1 for Indiana football, as they will open with Old Dominion.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back to finish out the show. And we've got your college pick'ems ready, set up to go, thanks to our man Pete. And a little twist to it this year. Gonna make it kind of cool. Back with all that and more after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. And as promised, our man Pete got us set up with the college pick'ems. You just go to ESPN.com and it is under Indiana Sports Beat 2025. I'm trying to log into it right now. There it is. Boom. I pull that up. And because there's a twist to it this year, looks like, that must be Pete Hot Dog fans already. But I'm going to join the group. Let's see. And I've got to change this stupid name. How can I change that? I don't want you to create that for me. You can add up to 1. But anyway, the password is simple. It's just Signetti 2025. And now the twist this year is we've done it with just wins, losses. We've done it with the spread. The spread was obviously more challenging. And I was going to go that direction until we found out there's something new. Now, why is this thing not allowing me to change my own name? I want to create my own name. But anyway, regardless of that, they have, besides the wins, they have a confidence pick. And let me go backwards where I can pull that back up. But it allows you to assign points to your pick. I haven't done it yet, so I will wait to see how that actually is. But you can assign basically more weight to your pick or less weight to your pick. And there's several picks already in there. So that's going to be interesting, but we'll talk about more of that tomorrow. But just go to Indiana Sports Beat 2025 on ESPN under the college pick'ems. You go over to the fantasy tab. Let's see. How's that? I'm going to go back and do it over again so I can read out. Yeah, you just go under the fantasy tab, which is upper right, and you just scroll down to college pick'em, and boom. Now, the confidence is a next level pick'em.
you rank your picks and you can earn more points for higher confidence selections. Kind of sounds, that's going to be another difference maker. Besides just picking the winner, you can add or detract how much confidence you have in that, which that should make it fun. And you know what? I have a special gift to give away for this one. This is going to be fun. It's downstairs at the moment, but I think you'll enjoy it. But we're going to have some fun, and we'll start this week with the first round of games. They're early. They're not out yet. I don't believe that they have the well, no, that's not true. Starting out with Texas and Ohio State, baby. So Tennessee, Syracuse, Georgia, Marshall, Alabama, Florida State, Virginia, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, LSU. Clemson, a 2.5-point favorite. UCLA getting 3.5 against the Utes, the two Utes, Utah. Tino Suntory's first game out there. The Huskies, big favorite over next year Indiana opponent, Colorado State. Virginia Tech, South Carolina, the Cox are 9.5-point favorite. And then you have got a great matchup. Notre Dame and Miami. Catholics and the convicts, right? Just kidding. Notre Dame favorite in that by 1.5. So that will be interesting to see. But yes, go to ESPN and just get that knocked out. Hey, man, today was an absolute fun day. Let's see, I got to make sure. There you go. I put that up. There you go. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can see it. ESPN.com. Just go to College Pick'ems. Then you look under Indiana Sports Beat 2025. The password is simply Signetti 2025. But what a blast getting to talk to K-Bro and Mike DeCourcy. Next week, Mike is on vacation, but K-Bro will be filling in. I can't wait. You guys are great as always. So much fun. Thank you for being with us. We're back tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.